Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Subscription Scaled. I'm your host, Nick Frederick. With me today as a co-host, Christy Beasley is also joining me, and we have Chris George, who is the co-founder and chairman of the Subscription Trade Association. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, good to talk with you today. So, I think a lot of our listeners probably know what SUBTA is, but let's start there. Give a little bit of background of the organization and what you guys try to do.
Yeah, so SUBTA is the Subscription Trade Association. We are the largest community of direct-to-consumer subscriptions. So we built SUBTA to help business professionals find profitability through subscription businesses. I was originally the co-founder and CEO of the Gentleman's Box, and the other two co-founders of SUBTA were also co-founders of the Gentleman's Box, and we sort of saw that nobody was facilitating this community of D2C brands, fast-growing space. So we built SUBTA and the largest event in the space called SubSummit.
Awesome. Tell us a bit about SubSummit, the conference itself.
Yeah, so SubSummit, and it's interesting because we started with the conference before a trade association. We kind of did it a little bit backwards. But SubSummit is the largest event in the world for D2C subscription brands. So it's everybody from your Disney Plus, Netflix, New York Times to your high growth hunter killer battle box businesses to your startups. And we built that conference to bring together the leaders in the space, help curate content for those that want to attend and learn how to build their business, and then have an exhibit hall full of suppliers that can help you grow your business as well.
So what, for those who haven't attended, what can they expect to learn there? I mean, you said there's an exhibit hall, so there's certainly suppliers and they can learn about that, but what sort of educational opportunities are there?
Yeah, so we touch on, we go really deep into our content, and none of our content's pay to play. So we get about 500 applications, and we gear it around the things that we're seeing these brands try to deal with. Right, a lot of it's acquisition, especially what's happening with this third-party data being held by Apple. You've got to get super creative with your top of the funnel traffic and how you're going to acquire data. So a big part of our conference in 2022 is going to focus on creative ways for customer acquisition, but you're going to learn everything from churn, supply chain issues, operations, fulfillment, again, customer acquisition, whether it's influencer marketing or affiliate marketing. You're going to hear how people are doing proactive retention, which is a really big thing that a lot of these businesses need to focus on. So it's the whole bandit, right? Of like how to and there's a startup track room. So there's like content around starting a subscription. And then there's some of the more higher level conversations that are happening, but also just great networking. We got a huge event called the Cube Awards. There's a lot of receptions, a lot of opportunities to meet others in the space and see if you can learn something from each other to help you grow your business.
So for those that are, you said there's some tracks for startups, but for those that are a little bit more seasoned on their subscription journey, what is there deeper content for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So you might look into like the third party stuff is going to get really deep for some of those brands. Those that are spending 100, 200, 300,000 a month on social media ads, like it's learning strategic ways to understand that data to make better decisions in marketing. Because again, this whole third party thing has put a wrench in a lot of that. But absolutely, like how to optimize operations. What are you thinking about team culture? Like all of these come into play. And as you get more advanced, this becomes really important. And then also too, like it is your opportunity for the CMO of, let's say, Netflix to sit there with the CMO of New York Times, right? Like there's a lot of synergy, a lot of things that make sense, right? And so that's where you see a lot of the networking that happens, but the content is geared across the bandit from startups to mid-level to advanced and enterprise.
So you just did your first conference post-COVID, right? How did that go? Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. So it was our first conference post-COVID. We had right around 600 attendees. Our largest event in 2019 was just over 1,000. So we actually had a pretty good turnout given the circumstances. We had another 300 that attended virtually this year. But it was just super refreshing to get back in person, right? Be able to shake hands and like enough of the Zoom calls. And there's a lot of excitement coming out of the event. Next year, we're going to be in Orlando, June 1st to the 3rd. And we got some really good speakers lined up. Like we've already got the CEO of Truebill that's coming to speak. You're going to see brands like BoxyCharm and FabFitFun and and Disney and New York Times are going to be there, right? And so, again, it was just truly refreshing, and we were happy to be back in person.
Makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? I mean, I personally have tried a couple of the virtual events, and don't get me wrong, there was some value there, but there's just nothing like, being face to
Yeah.
face, having a confined audience, if you will, and going about it that way. Big difference.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to ask a few questions regarding your experience in the subscription space.
Yep.
So, one of the things that I feel like we get questions all the time around what can we do to draw more traffic? So, besides free trials, what are some maybe other marketing tactics or acquisition tactics that you've seen that have paid off?
You're saying to drive more top of the funnel traffic, you're saying? Yeah. I mean, one thing is, especially the space I'm in, like free trial isn't even like really something, unless it's on the digital side, but like when you're thinking consumer packaged goods, that doesn't really play into it. But, I think what's important to understand is all these things work a little bit, whether it's affiliate marketing, whether it's influencer marketing, whether it's social media ads. You need to really dive deep and understand how well is one of them working? What's the customer lifetime value from each of those different segments and marketing campaigns you may put together? And then double down on the ones that are working really well. It's like when somebody can't make this blanket statement, like influencer marketing works great, maybe it works well for a certain type of business, right? Maybe it works well depending on the platform you're on. Instagram and Facebook are really good for impulse buy. I see the item, I make the purchase, right? What's really important with social media ads is like video ads are clearly working better. Some of the things I've been encouraging a lot of brands to do, in which I've seen work very well, and I've seen that these ads are optimizing better, is like look at trends that are happening on TikTok, create ads off that trend, and run a Facebook ad around them. Because TikTok's got everybody's attention, and those trends are using sounds that you're going to recognize. And when you see a Facebook ad that's similar to that trend, you just naturally are going to watch it. The data is proving out that those are getting the most clicks. And then when you're thinking about, and again, they all work hand in hand. You have an influencer strategy that drives their initial attention, and then they get hit with a retargeting ad from Facebook or it's Instagram. Like these all work hand in hand. You can't say that Facebook was the only reason that that conversion came into play. Well, the first touch attribution was an influencer. So I think what's less important about like, here's a clear-cut strategy. It's like, how are you diving deep into the strategies you're using, and how do you optimize them more to drive better acquisition?
Do you have any recommendations how to track that cross-platform traffic?
Yeah, so there's some data platforms where you can like put pixels in place that'll tell you by segment. So like when I'm running ad sets, I want a pixel on each ad set. So I know that this specific ad set that targeted this specific demographic drove this much attention. And then, also making sure that every influencer has a unique URL, like a bit.ly link or something. So we know specifically these people came from X influencer, right? Not just as a whole, all the influencer marketing did this, right? Like, and so there's different softwares that will manage that for you and allow you to look at it. I think that, we discount the data. We're running our business and we're looking at the top line revenue, or we're looking at how much acquisition, and we're not diving deep enough. And you need to sit back and do it, whether that's hire a data scientist or cut out time out of your day to really look at the data and understand where is this traffic coming from. And then also just look for ways to optimize on every part of it, right? So, if you had a golf subscription, the ad that you'd present to somebody because golfers are ranged from like 8 years old to 70, and they're both boys and girls, right? Well, the ad targeting the 60-plus-year-old is going to look very different from the ad targeting the 18-year-old. Jack Johnson, Ricky Fowler is going to be in the ad for the 18-year-old, and the Golden Bear is going to be in the ad for the 60-year-old, right? Like you got to think about those types of things. I might have a trick shot ad for the one targeting the 18-year-old, like something crazy, shot it off a roof, hit a car, landed in the hole, right? Like, and then like the older generation, it might be very different, right? It might be, the Golden Bear having a gosh, I was thinking of his iced tea drink. I can't think of it right now, but and Arnold Palmer, right? You know, like having one of those and like then taking a shot, you know, like you don't know, like more Tiger Woods and those. So that becomes very important too. You don't just make one ad. And also too, like I hate ads that are like sign up today, 30% off. Like enough of it. Like build the creative ads going to get their attention and don't discount them. I wish every company would get rid of the discount code spot. You'd find out that everybody would be happier if nobody discounted anything, because discount codes also create what's called buyer regret. So if you go make a purchase and you don't have a discount code and you can't find one, you immediately think like, am I getting the best deal? You know, so I spend a lot of my time understanding consumer behavior. I speak to a lot of professors. I've spoken at a lot of different colleges. And these professors are so smart, but like it becomes really like when you start to understand how the consumer is thinking, it helps you make better decisions for your business. And too many companies are trying to drive acquisition by discounting. Well, that only gives you a lower quality consumer that's more than likely going to churn faster. You know, my recommendations for Black Friday were don't do a huge discount, add a free product with purchase. So instead of 50% off, like buy this and get a $50 item for free with it. Like, you know, like try to get that habit within the consumer. Look at the greatest brands in the world. Apple never discounts anything. Like you've ever got a discount on an Apple product? Like you pay full price, right? Like, you know, like you might get a gift card because like Best Buy is doing it, you know, but they don't discount. There's a reason. And that's how you'd like to see a brand get built.
Well, one thing you were saying there back at the beginning was that what works for you might not work for somebody else. And that is, of course, true. Depends on your price point, your product, your market, you know, all of these things come into play. But we get asked all the time about where do I stand compared to others, right? Especially when it comes to billing and payments, you know, what's my collection rate? What should I expect? Is there opportunity here? And while there is some value in benchmarking data, I feel like sometimes there's overvalue in benchmarking data, but I'm curious your perspective on it.
Give me an example on like where you're seeing overvalue on benchmarking data.
Well, the one that we can certainly relate to is like I said, collection rates. Somebody that comes to us and says, "Hey, I'm at an 80-85% collection rate on my recurring billings. Where should I be? Like where are my peers at?" And we tell them all the time,
I'm sorry.
well, you know, your price point, your card mix, you know, your frequency, all of these things are huge factors in that ultimate collection rate. So it's hard to answer, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I refer to it as churn, so I was unsure. So you're saying you've got a 5% churn, you're collecting 95% of it. So yeah, I mean there's so many factors, right? Like, is it a digital subscription? Is it a replenishment item? Is it a discovered delight, right? So is it a necessity? You know, do you have the Netflix effect? You don't cancel Netflix because it was $9, right? Like I watched Netflix for like 2 shows, like Stranger Things and like Ozark. And like I literally don't watch it any other time, but I'm never canceling it. When you think about something like a Dollar Shave Club, you're like, if I don't get this, I don't have razors, I can't shave. So I need it. Right. So their churn's super low. Yeah. When you think about a HelloFresh, the churn is actually super high because they're trying to build a new lifestyle for you. And like 50% get it and like, geez, I'm not going to cook these meals, right? But then what ends up happening is there's a percentage of them that they do build a lifestyle for. And now they're lifetime customers. They now become this like low percent churn. So, you know, the benchmark I think is like, start to understand what the churn is for your current business, and then how can you lower it, right? What can I do to be proactive about it? And I think that some of the businesses are failing at is being proactive with their churn. If customers on average are canceling on month 6, what can you do on month 5 to keep them one more month? Is it throw an extra item in there? Is it giving them something of value, right? What are you doing when they go to cancel? You know, I did a review of HBO Max. I signed up and canceled. And all it was, do you want to cancel? Yes. And it canceled me. Didn't ask me why. Didn't offer me a free trial. Didn't stay on for 30. Like, this is HBO. Maybe they fixed it since we did this review. We posted it online. But the truth is like, you have to collect that data, and then you have to give them another offering if they're going to cancel. Use that data to help you make better decisions. I can give you like a real life example. So when we had the gentleman's box, we were a $29 a month product. People were canceling for one of three. Our trend was like 12%. People were canceling for one of three reasons. They didn't like it, they couldn't afford it, or they had too much stuff. They were getting too many socks, ties, dress socks every month. They were having product fatigue. So we took that data and we said, well, okay, what if we introduced a $100 quarterly subscription? So instead of paying $29 a month, you paid $100 a quarter. You got 4 boxes a year. What ended up happening was we eliminated 2 of the reasons to cancel. If they didn't like it, they were still canceling, fine. But they didn't cancel because they couldn't afford it, because we were getting a higher quality consumer, someone that paid $100 on first purchase versus $29. And now they were only getting 4 boxes a year instead of 12, so they couldn't cancel because of product fatigue. Our churn went from 12% to under 2.5%. Our LTV went from 180 to 800. Huge change in the business, but we listened to the customer and we made an adjustment. So every brand's got to look at their churn, forget the benchmark, like focus on your churn and how do I lower it, right? Because just because so-and-so is doing 4% and you're at 10, you're going to get all caught up and heated up. Like, just like figure it out. Like, go from 10 to 8, 8 to 6, 6 to 4, you know?
Yeah.
Plus, who knows whose data is real anyways? Everybody can like skew the hell out of it.
Well,
that's
true. That's true. What in finance, I feel like sometimes it's what do you want the answer to be, and then you can find a way to get there, right? You can always make the numbers work. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that, because we've seen some get way too wrapped up in that of, well, where's somebody else at, and how do I get there? And you're like, well, there's probably reasons they are where they are, but let's look at where you're at, what your trends are, and where your optimization opportunities are, right?
For sure.
So one thing, going back to the longtime customer, how do you feel about rewarding longtime customers?
Yeah, well, it's great, right? Like, if they've been on a certain period of time, hitting them with something builds like that experience that they're not getting on a retail level. It lets them feel they're part of the community. It lets them feel they're appreciated. People buy brands, right? Like, and what I meant by that was like, the customer experience is really important. Like, what are the company values? What's the mission? How are they consistently communicating with me? Are they sustainable? Like, think about the new generation of consumers. Like, they're less worried about wearing Prada and more worried about, like, is this company giving back in some fashion, or how are they providing me an experience? And so when you think about loyalty and doing something for those that are like within your community, that builds a brand experience. It builds a community. Community businesses win, like, more than ever. Like, because if you're not a community business, then you're competing against Amazon and you'll never beat them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I
so
think a lot of companies are maybe starting to see that. If you look at some of the telco providers, right? Beforehand, if you'd been with them for 10 years, you got the crappy end of the deal, where the new customers were signing up were getting the best deals, and you weren't eligible anymore. So it caused a lot of churn, and you played a game of switching at carriers, every couple of years. And now you see that they're offering those same deals to longtime customers, and they feel like they still have value to that client or that
it should be proactive. Like, you're about, like, reaching out to them 1 month ahead of time. Hey, your contract's about to expire. If you want to extend another 2 years, here's the deal. Right? Like, what was the old saying? Like, oh, after 2 years, I just call them, act like I'm going to cancel, then they give me the offer. Like, no, the company should be proactively reaching out, doing it.
Yes, and I get very annoyed when I have to waste my time to play that game.
Yeah. No, I get it, for sure. The thing is, the problem with a guy like me is, like, I'm the guy that like, it happens. I don't even notice for 6 months the bill went up. And then, like, then I'm, like, calling them, so that's why they probably do it, which is an unfortunate way to do business.
It is, but that as an example, right? What's your opinion of that company? 6 months after you realize that they've been charging you a hell of a lot more because you didn't call to complain about it. That's not creating a loyal, brand aware, brand evangelist by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure.
What with the upcoming conference, are there anything, like, you guys started very, I believe, more subscription box focused, right? But you've expanded to nearly every subscription vertical that's out there. What the needs across those verticals can be very different, right? There's some things about subscription that's common, but there's also things that are very industry vertical specific. So how are you structuring it in a way that those who come there represent or sit in one of those verticals can get the most value? Do you separate things into tracks, or what can they expect?
So there's 3 track rooms.
Okay.
So the content spread around that. There's probably more in common than not, right? A lot of the biggest differentiator is like the shipping side of it, the operations and fulfillment. But when you talk about churn, you talk about customer experience, you talk about acquisition, like they're all dealing with this across the board, right? And content, while you think about media, content's critical. It's critical for every business, and just being a content house is, when you think about like the New York Times or Condé Nast, like they're still dealing with this churn acquisition. And on the flip side, they're also looking for creative ways to bring in other revenue verticals. So that maybe they want to start shipping something. Maybe they want to start to provide outbound value as opposed to just inbound. Like instead of just being access, can you now be a membership? Can you can you can you sign up for, I'm making this up, but can you sign up for like Cosmopolitan magazine digital for $6.99 a month, but for $9.99 a month you actually get like 20% off salon services at like these 1,000 salons across the. Again, I literally just made this up. Might be a good idea for Condé Nast or something one day.
No, that's actually
But
cool. You call that on bill or
yeah,
partner sharing, right? So that concept used to be when you had the loyalty market years
hmm
ago before the subscriptions are really called subscriptions. That was kind of common, and you don't see that as much in the new subscription world. But I feel like that would bring a lot of value.
yeah. You want to think about ways to provide more value to the consumer, and it's it can make sense for a lot of businesses. Like I was having a conversation about Delta Airlines with somebody in a similar space, and they could offer a subscription service that gave you X amount of trips per month. It gave you access to the lounge. It gave you meals on the plane. Like you could really get super creative, and now you literally won't buy a ticket from anywhere else but Delta. Separate yourself. They're doing it on loyalty, right? Miles gets you perks, medallion, blah, blah, blah. But like, how do we make this better? Like subscriptions are the new loyalty program as is.
Well, speaking of that, subscription being the new loyalty, you're seeing a lot of that trend towards those two concepts directly coming together into kind of one program where you might pay some premium, some monthly fee to be in a program that then also has loyalty component built into it. Where do you see that working, and do you see that
Yeah.
being a trend that continues?
I don't know. I see people doing it. I think that there's probably better ways to provide an experience that are going to equate to the same value of the loyalty program, right? So loyalty programs were initially like a point system, right? You spend this, be along this much, you get points, you cash in the points to buy stuff. I'm not seeing it as much in the subscription space. I'm seeing them more providing a really good experience that inherently is providing this immaculate value that they're already loyalty to you because they're signed up with you. They're already in. So I don't need to give them a loyalty points to make another purchase with me. They're already in the program, so. And I might be missing some brands. I don't know that I've seen anybody do it like at a really crazy level that impressed me. I can't even think of somebody that's doing it right now.
Yeah, I've seen it go in a lot of different directions. One thing is for loyalty programs that have tiers with, select benefits that go into the tiers is an option to get into the tier like straight there, by saying, okay, I'll pay the
Sure.
$5 a month to be a gold member and get access to an upgraded hotel room,
Yep.
or something like that. I haven't seen a lot of data on the success rates with that, but
Yeah.
that might be ways where, these two things are kind of coming together.
But still, I mean, it's still a little different, right? Because we're saying like, are you saying like loyalty programs would be like they're as long as they stay on or the more they spend, they get like these points that they use they can cash in for
Yeah,
stuff, right?
that's
Sort of,
yeah, that's
yeah.
a different idea.
Yeah. So I don't know that I'm seeing it happen as much. I think like when they're like, I feel like the subscriptions just replace the loyalty
Hmm.
program.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think maybe coffee clubs are another example where, you would get those points, so you could redeem free coffee, but now there's just a coffee
Yeah.
subscription. Pay the
Yep.
$7 a month and get, as much as
Yep.
you want, or at least one per
Unlimited
day or
coffee.
something like that.
Yep.
So I don't know that
Yep.
one necessarily replaces the other. It's the similar concept of, getting that, I don't want to call it free if you're paying a subscription, but,
Yep.
have
Yep.
access to it kind of on demand.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were talking earlier about community building, and I completely agree that that's one big leg up that good subscription companies have over the likes of Amazon, who's, I can go out there and subscribe and save to any product I want and get it on a recurring basis. But, building a community around a concept or a product is an entirely different thing. What are some of the ways you're seeing brands build community? Because it's more than just a Facebook group, right? It needs to
Yeah.
be a lot of other things.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to like the customer experience and like that customer service level. How quickly are you responding to people? When people are posting about you on social and using your hashtags, are you replying? Like, are you talking to your customer? That's when you really start to build community, when they feel like they're part of your family or your community as a brand, and consistently engaging with them, right? Can they call you for like, can they feel like they can call you for anything? That's like a big deal. Chewy.com, I think I don't remember what year it was, 17 or 18, they sent out like 1 million handwritten notes for the holidays to the customers. It's a big deal. When you go to buy something from them, the first question is like, what's your pet's name? Like, they're starting to get you into this community. If you call Chewy and say that I have a 110-pound husky that's got stomach issues, they're going to recommend the right food. If I call Amazon, the rep is more than likely not going to have the answer to that question.
Sorry, you can call Amazon? How do you do this?
Yeah, well, yeah, right. That's a problem in itself. But you see, like that's where that, and then as you do that, you start to build community. People become like really loyal to the brand. So, community is about how are you talking to them regularly, and what's that customer like experience and service like? Because if it's immaculate, that's when you start to build the community.
Well, and some of the other guests that we've had on the podcast who have built brands and I think have done effective communities have found that the community starts to kind of build itself. Like the people who become your most loyal evangelists, like they actually are the ones that are out there saying better things about your brand than you can ever do on your own, and
100%.
that's where this like starts to compound and steamroll when you're able to get to that place with your community, right?
You're 100% right.
Yeah. Well, where is for those that are trying to do this, what's the building blocks? Where should you start? I mean, customer service is certainly one of those things, but how do
Yeah,
you get them talking with each other and regularly communicate with them?
I mean, I think you touched on it. Like these Facebook groups are a big deal. Like again, like and then, like again, it's how you approach them on social. In my opinion, like if somebody hashtags you or tags you, like you need to respond and you need to engage the consumer. I think it starts to happen because then they start chattering and talking about it, and then you introduce some sort of communication method, whether that's a Discord or whether that's a Facebook group. You start to get people in there, and then they're really going to start talking about your brand. I don't think there's an easy recipe because if there was, then everybody would do it. I think it's just like, I think you said it right. I think it naturally starts to happen, but the way you present your brand has that inherent effect on them building it for you.
Well, speaking of that, how there's going to be some customers who have bad experiences, and you can try to treat them as best as you think you can, but kind of sometimes when bad reviews are out there, they're out there, and it's almost permanent. Any specific advice for dealing with that? I mean, trying to address those types of customers directly, or
Yeah.
accept the fact that it's going to happen sometimes and try to do better and move on.
Yeah. You're not going to make everybody happy. The best businesses, the other customers come to your defense, right? You start to see that.
Sure.
And you built a really good business.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to address them. And you have to also understand, is it 1 out of 5,000 that said something, or is it 50 out of 100? If it's 50 out of 100, it's a real problem we need to address. If it's 1 out of 5,000, like, that's not the first one or the last one you're going to get, right? So you take it and you note it and you keep building your business. You can't get caught up on it. You can't stress about it. Build a really good company that's customer focused first. You will build a really good brand.
Any specific models you'd like to call out for, hey, these guys are doing community building right? Go look at them.
FabFitFun does it really well. Yeah. BoxyCharm does it really well. Ipsy. You think about like companies like Nordstrom's, like they do a really like all these companies have a high NPS score of like 60 plus, like they're doing it right, and Peloton, right?
Okay.
Yeah. They got a huge community, even though their stock is crumbled, but
On which day you look at it, yeah.
yeah, but they built a really good community, right? Like they show you like clips of like somebody's birthday and like the person's announcing it, like 100th ride, right? Like it almost feels like a cult. It's actually kind of scary, but they do a really good job with community building. Those brands, like you're going to see Peloton stop. You're going to see Peloton gyms open up. People can go in there and ride or treadmill. It's going to happen, and then, yep, 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 yep. You're 100% right. On the flip side of that, Peloton's made you feel like you're in this community or group. It's like a status thing, just like Apple did. An Apple computer isn't better than a PC, but it's twice as much. And like I always joke, like God forbid an 18-year-old boy sends a text message out and it goes green to a girl, right?
That's so true.
Right? But they built that's perception, right? It's a status thing. Peloton's a status thing. I'm on Peloton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be in the Peloton club. Like, I've got a MacBook. I want the logo. Like, you never see somebody put a sticker on a MacBook. But you look at a PC, and the whole back of the laptop's covered in stickers. So, that's a big deal with building brands. For sure. I think it's just that, that just comes down to like they're not built, then their motives aren't correct, right? Like, Microsoft and Dell were building products. Apple was building a lifestyle, right? I wouldn't know another gym brand, but like NordicTrack was selling treadmills in stores. Peloton was building a lifestyle. Like it's very different approaches. When you're building a lifestyle, you build a really good business as a really strong community. Yeah, let's talk about this stuff's not easy, right? There's far and few between some of these really, really big brands, but you can start to practice those things to help you build a really good business.
I want to ask you about starting up a brand new business for those who are out there that want to get into the game, either start a new product within a business or start a brand new startup. I think it's safe to say that the state of our industry is that there's more tools and platforms and better integrated systems now than there ever have been. So what you need in order to get started is like pretty much clicks away, right? But it almost can be overwhelming because there are so many solutions out there, so many approaches. And I think with subscription, even more so than others, is that you tend to stay with where you are because switching costs can be high, whether that's your marketing platform, your subscription management, your billing and payments, whatever. So nobody wants to find themselves in a bad situation. So when you're getting started and trying to just sort through all that's out there, what do you tell startups to do? Like where to start and what to look for?
Look, there's so many great resources online, even with SUBTA, right? This isn't a plug, but we've got a lot of great resources. But, you look on YouTube, there's so many great resources. And I think it may feel like it's overwhelming, but if anything, it's gotten easier, right? You can build a Shopify site overnight. There's easy plugins like Recharge or Bold. Yep. And then in the Shopify app store is like everything you need to like get the business up and rolling. But right now, I think that's the easy part. The hard part is the product and the value that it's going to provide. Subscriptions are about providing value, access, or exclusivity. Those are the three critical things. Is the item exclusive that you can't get anywhere else? That's why I'm signing up. Is the product providing me an enormous amount of value? I'm paying $30 when I'm getting $100 of the value. Or am I getting access to something that I can't get access to? I pay for a membership at Costco to get the pricing at Costco, right? I would sign up for a Nike subscription so that I have exclusive access to the drops before everybody else, right? I sign up for Netflix so that I can watch shows that are only on Netflix. I sign up for FabFitFun because for $50 a month, a quarter, I get $300 worth of product. That's the critical part. Like, can I do one of those three things? And is it something that somebody wants? The rest is easy. Build the website, plugins, like that's the easy part.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Nike didn't do that yet. I pitched them on it. But they should be doing that. But then, yeah, they had a Nike Adventure Club, which the gentleman that was in charge of that I know really well, and we brainstormed on it. But every business should be thinking about some sort of subscription model, like no matter what. I don't care if you're a restaurant or you couldn't convince. Maybe the medical field is like one of the limited ones that like makes it harder. But
there's opportunities there.
yeah, it just depends. Like it depends on part of the medical field,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, like certain doctors, sure, like dentists, yeah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, everywhere I could think of some sort of subscription model under every single business. Or do I think there's some that are not utilizing it well? Like, I feel like probably maybe restaurants. There's an opportunity. Think about like if you paid a monthly fee. You got priority on reservations. When you walked in, they're like, "Hey, Mr. George, like there's this experience. I got 10% off my meals. I'm making this up, or I got wine.
Mm-hmm.
I had access to the club at certain points. Like again, it's like first dibs on reservations, access to the bar, priority seating at the bar, discounts on the food. Like a guy that's like me, I would love that. I'm walking to a place that's like they're going to know me. I'm having business meetings. I take them to my spot. I'm probably going to eat there more than I normally do. So now they're going to get more value out of the customer. Plus, like people are like, "What's that?" Yeah, you can go to all of them. Yeah, it's like, and people are like, you know, they like this. Oh, I get access to this restaurant. Right? Like people are bougie, right? Like they want to cut the line. Yep, yep. Probably that. Where else? I mean, probably. I mean, you're starting to see some automotive, like they're doing it. There's probably a big opportunity with automotive, right? Like, you know, you think about somebody that for $600 a month, I get the car. It includes the insurance already. It includes all the maintenance, and I could switch it out every month. Pretty cool. $1,000 a month, right? Like I'll go from the drop top to like a truck in the winter. Like I live in Michigan, right? I love the opportunity to have 4 different cars throughout the year. Switch them out. I'll pay it, right? Yeah, Cadillac did it. It's expensive. I think they got to solve for it in another fashion, right? Like the problem is that car value goes down once it leaves the lot, right? Well, like let's change that. Like let's not like you guys control the industry. Like make it so the car value doesn't drop so far. Like I'm sure you can figure this out, and there's probably opportunity there. I'm trying to think of any other industry. I'm sure there's tons, right? But like the salon space, why are you going in? Like people like to get their nails done weekly. Get them on a subscription so they get it at this specific place every month.
Percent. That and the restaurant example, which I freaking love, by the way. I mean, I'd sign up for that. I think what often gets overlooked on businesses that are entirely transactional is when you have a subscription, no matter how small it is, you have a customer profile, you know who they are and some information about them, and you have a card on file. And that card on file is extremely valuable. Just take Uber, for example, right? That experience of get in, get out, I don't have to pull out
Yep.
my card is huge. And for a restaurant or a salon or a, whatever,
Yep.
that could then say, okay, come in, you'll get your service, you'll walk out, you don't have to check out or do whatever because, hey,
Yep.
we've got that covered. I mean, you're creating an entirely different consumer experience because there's a conscious thing that happens every time somebody pulls out plastic, right? That goes, oh
Yep.
crap, I'm spending money. But that card on file in the background is huge. It's everything.
It's like the country club membership if you don't golf or play
Yes.
tennis,
Right.
right? That's what you want.
Right.
You want, like, if I had a nice restaurant, that would be my model. Like, there'd be a waiting list to get access to.
Yeah.
That's how I would build it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What you're going to see is that people are going to create an NFT that gives you like table number 14 that you now own. And you go to this restaurant and table 14 is yours. You're going to see it. It's going to happen. Like if you go to a restaurant every Saturday, you will pay a price to have that be your table.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen with the NFT world. Someone's going to buy an NFT that's table number 14 at so-and-so restaurant, and then that person's going to sell it. And like, now this person, it's going to happen.
Well, interesting. Steakhouses figured this out a long time ago. They probably didn't capitalize it on as much as they could with wine lockers. They let the real high-end customers keep their best wine there in a locker. I don't think they paid for it. I think it was actually free, but it was so that, hey, I've got, I spend a ton of money. I'm motivated to come back because my stuff's sitting in a locker there. So, take that one step further and give access to that, similar benefits to another set of customers, right?
Yeah. Yep. For sure. And they charge. I've seen those places. They for sure charge for that locker, but it makes sense, right? It's like your name's on there. Like, look, like, again, it's like this experience is feeling of exclusivity.
So, Christy, you could get a plaque on your table at the restaurant. You just have to pay a monthly fee for it.
Sure, maybe that, or it's reserved. It's like reserved for Chris George.
Yeah. And then everyone else that eats there knows it's yours. Yeah. I think people
think about this, like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to my restaurant this Saturday. Take my table, give it to somebody as a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just, hey, go take my reservation.
Yeah.
Like, you could do that.
Yeah. Well, before we give away any more of our best ideas for anyone who might want to talk to you, Chris, and get more thoughts from you or learn more about SUBTA, where can they go?
So you can follow me on LinkedIn. I've also got Instagram, which is Chris G Certified. I post a bunch of content about subscriptions on there. And then also you can reach out to me, chris@subta.com. I'm at inbox zero, so I'll more than likely answer it. It is getting harder and harder to be inbox zero. But you can check out everything at subta.com, SUBTA.com. SubSummit.com is the event. And then my email is chris@subta.com.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thanks so much for the time today. Appreciate all of the insights that you share. I think it was really valuable. But again, thank you for the time.